Our exhibition is all about connections and disconnections. Because of this, we have chosen to have our exhibition displayed virtually and also physically. Our exhibition will travel around the world to 6 different venues in an attempt to connect people from different cities, countries, and continents. As well as being available to visit our exhibition physically, the public will also be invited to access the exhibition virtually from the comfort of their own home. There will be an interactive space where all visitors are invited to communicate with each other, play games, and create art to be displayed both physically and virtually. An interactive installation will allow viewers to contribute to the art and connect with the artists showcased. Before we go into this in more detail, first I'd like to invite you to meet our team. Here we are pictured outside Duncan of Jordanson. From right to left is Ludwika, Matthew, Maria, Freya, Maria Zoe, and myself, Tom.
This is the map of our venue. As you enter, you'll see the donation box, which is located in the reception. This leads on to the main exhibition space that flows through to a space set up for local artists to exhibit their work relating to the subject. The exhibition also includes a study space and a creative space where workshops and talks will take place, as well as a cafe and library at the rear of the venue. We wanted to make sure there would be spaces where people could connect to each other.
At the entrance, we'd have a donation box to raise money for local artist funds. This would be another way of bridging the gap between the travelling works and those from local artists. I've listed the organisations where the money would go to on the side of the screen.
Welcome to the interactive part of our exhibition. Here you can connect to your breath and body for our yoga and meditation class. Don't forget to grab an envelope in the color that matches your mood and the other one from the box. How do you feel after your class? Share a positive thought and leave it in the box. You're not feeling like meditation today? No problem, we have other attractions. How about building a poem with your friends? Feel free to write your own words on the empty cubes. Have fun!
In the creative space, we'll also have various connected screens on which people can make collaborative drawings, using the colours that reflect how they feel. At the end of one exhibition, the work would be saved and transferred to the next, for those visitors to respond to it. On this screen is an example of a collaborative piece we did together on a website called Aggie. This gives you a general idea of how it would work. I'll paste a link of this project in the chat so you can add to it if you'd like. You can use a colour picker to select the colours on this side to reflect your mood. Our drawing turned out to be pretty abstract, but you can really draw anything.
As well as larger, well-known artists we have chosen to tour, each venue around the world will also invite local artists to submit their work based on the theme, and these will be exhibited alongside the artists we have chosen.
Disconnection will be exhibited in 6 different locations all over the world and will be available from 15th of June to 6th of August in New York, Rosario, Shanghai, Barcelona, Cape Town, and Sydney.
Hello there, I am Maria, and now we will move on to our artists, starting with the disconnection ones and then the connection ones. Disconnected by Paul Politis Photography. Disconnected is a series of photographs taken from his car at night between 2010 and 12 and again in 2017. He had been spending a lot of time driving aimlessly late at nights, feelings of loneliness, isolation and alienation that he had always felt. Driving through the city at night, passing people on the street, there was an apparent desire to be among others, but also a fear and mistrust that kept him isolated and protected within a moving shell of metal and plastic. Moving figures photographed with multi-second exposures as they walk or drive alongside his car often become abstract, distorted creatures. Urban Lights Contacts by Gregory Laseren and Aismen Denast. Interactive sound and light installation in the public space 2015. It proposes an original interactive staging of the spectators' bodies as they are transformed into real sonorous human instruments. A shiny ball is on the top of the pedestal. When the first person puts his hand on it, his body gets sensitive and reacting to other living bodies. If the person remains alone, there is no reaction. Each touch generates variable sounds and lights which evolve according to the proximity of contacts and spectators. The electrostatic energy of bodies is musically felt. Each physical contact between spectators generates a sound with a light color according to the intensities of bodies' electrostatic energy. When nobody interacts, sounds and lights switch off.
My first artist is Celia Paul, a contemporary English painter who primarily focuses on portraiture. Her work is autobiographical and intimate, most frequently depicting herself and her family members. Comparing her to Lucian Freud, who was in a relationship with Paul for 10 years, Zadie Smith writes, Freud painted the visible, flesh, breasts, eggs. Paul's work is a visionary account of ineffable qualities like love, faith, silence, empathy. By painting those she is closest to, Paul documents her subtle changes of heart. The atmosphere tends to be sombre, bleak, and otherworldly. In My Sister in the Morning, for example, Paul conveys two sides of grief, which brings her sisters together while also making them close in on themselves. Her work primarily explores our connection to ourselves and those we love. Depending on the piece and how you look at it, her paintings convey a sense of proximity to the subject, expressing love and compassion, or detachment, causing a feeling of yearning, melancholy, and solitude. My second artist is J.M.W. Turner, who's primarily known for his oil and watercolour landscape and seascape paintings. The work I'd like to exhibit is a series of colour studies done in watercolour. Even though Turner's work is focused on the outside world, most of his paintings were actually done in the studio. As such, they tend to be based off of sketches or memory. This explains how he was able to create such striking seascape paintings at the time, and how his work has such an emotional, almost pre-impressionist quality to them. In the selected paintings, you can tell how Turner is focusing on the impression left upon him by the colours. As much as his paintings had a strong focus on contrast of tone, he also focused on composing in colour. This was the purpose of these studies. Drawing from life is something that, by all means, is still practiced today, but it's interesting to look at how artists from the past captured elusive moments without the use of cameras, especially with Turner, who was renowned for his visual memory. It makes you think about how an entirely different visual culture would impact our relation to the mind's eye, but also about how our perception functions in general. Nowadays, a growing amount of people are striving for a sense of grounding, and to feel better connected to their experience of the world in response to feelings of unease and alienation. Our memory of a fire, a wave, or a sunrise is probably much closer to what Turner is representing through reflection than to a photograph. As such, Turner's work, and art in general, is a powerful force in reconnecting with our senses, as well as one another.
Nine Goldfish is a sculptural installation by Kuchil An. At a glance, this installation makes a beautiful scene, a pale turquoise pond containing 9 red goldfish. However, a closer look reveals the pond's somewhat sad reality. The goldfish seem to be together, but can never actually meet, as each one is in their own separate concentric circle. This affects the behavior of the fish, highlighting the importance of their surroundings and need for others. This piece is by Rafael Lozano Hammer. Border Tuner is a large-scale participatory art installation designed to interconnect the cities of El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Mexico. Powerful searchlights make a bridge of light that open live sound channels for communication across the US-Mexico border. The piece creates a fluid canopy of lights that can be modified by visitors to 6 interactive stations, 3 placed in El Paso and 3 in Juarez. Since this is a site-specific art installation, we would exhibit a film made by Lozano Hammer to tour with our exhibition.
David Souter is a photographer whose work aims to represent failed memory through digital collages and glitches. He creates pseudo-narratives for old family photographs by redecoding the idea of memory through generated failure. His latest series, Failed Memory, is a work inspired by the parallels he sees between human and digital memory. He says our brains store away images to retrieve them later, like files stored away on a hard drive. But when we go back and try to re-access those memories, we may find them to be corrupted in some way. For this project, Francis Alice invited 500 volunteers to walk up a sand dune on the outskirts of Lima in Peru, shoveling in unison, thus displacing the dune by a few inches. The work is a metaphor for Latin American society, in which minimal reforms are achieved through massive collective efforts and therefore connection amongst the citizens. Participants in the project gave their time for free, reversing conservative economic principles of efficiency and production. Embracing rumor, urban myth, and oral history, Alice aims to make works that continue beyond the duration of the event itself through stories disseminated by word of mouth.
Bipolar by Elizabeth Strazzante relates to the topic of disconnection because it's a visual representation of bipolar disorder which causes disassociation as a symptom. It can make one feel disconnected from themselves or from the world around them. The painting shows two figures disconnecting from each other, which relates to the fast-paced mood switches bipolar disorder causes. Silently Waiting by Tara McCallum relates to connection because the piece aims to capture McCallum's energy and emotion that lies beneath the surface to create an intimate experience. The painting is meant to show the power of the energy connection within and how we as humans communicate without words. She also says, art can make what is in life invisible, visible on the canvas.
Christina Bothwell, When You're Sleeping. Christina Bothwell is an American contemporary fine artist. She is known for her glass, ceramic, and mixed media sculptures. Many of her pieces portray life and renewal, as well as connection between birth and death. Her subject matter includes animals and children. She's interested in their vulnerability and connection with the unseen metaphysical world. This piece portrays out-of-body experience, the soul's disconnection from the physical body. Francesca Woodman worked with traditional photographic techniques, but she was very experimental in her practice. Her work was often focused on capturing the connection between the body and the surrounding its shapes and objects through their geometrical similarity. She often used herself as a subject. The themes of connection and disconnection were very present in Francesca's work. The artist also felt a strong connection to the nature. This work of Francesca Woodman shows the relation between life and death. There is a connection to birth as Francesca's naked body emerges from the water. At the same time, the cemetery in the background makes us think about the end of life.
Thank you all for listening to our presentation. We will now be happy to answer any questions you might have.